The gunshot split the air like thunder, but Eliza Sinclair didn't flinch. She'd heard worse in the 3 months since her father's death, like the banker's words when he seized their farm. "A woman alone has no business owning property. You'll never find a proper home in these parts." Eliza wiped sweat from her brow as the stagecoach rattled through the golden plains of Nebraska territory. August 1867 was unforgiving, the heat rising in waves from the dusty trail. Her dark curls were pinned haphazardly beneath a faded bonnet, her once fine dress mended in several places. At 22, she carried herself with the dignity of someone twice her age, though the weariness in her eyes betrayed her recent hardships. "Next stop, Pinecrest," the driver called out. Pinecrest. The name meant nothing to Eliza beyond a desperate hope. Her cousin Martha had written about teaching positions available in this frontier town. It wasn't much, but it was all Eliza had left. The stagecoach lurched to a halt in what passed for the town center, a dusty street lined with wooden buildings, some still under construction. Pinecrest was barely more than an overgrown settlement, but to Eliza's surprise, it bustled with activity. "First time in Pinecrest, miss?" The elderly woman across from her smiled kindly. "Yes." Eliza clutched her small carpetbag. "I'm hoping to secure a teaching position." The woman's smile faltered. "Well, best of luck to you, dear." The driver helped Eliza down, and she stood uncertainly in the street, dust immediately coating her worn boots. The town seemed larger than she'd expected. A general store, saloon, hotel, and various businesses lined the main street. In the distance, she could see houses scattered among the pines that gave the town its name. Eliza made her way to the schoolhouse first, a modest building at the edge of town. Her heart sank when she found the door locked, a sign indicating classes would resume in September. No one had mentioned the school would be closed for summer. Looking for someone, Eliza turned to see a stern-faced woman approaching. "I'm inquiring about the teaching position. My cousin Martha Wilkins mentioned." "Martha's cousin? Why didn't you say so?" The woman's expression softened slightly. "I'm Mrs. Henderson, town council secretary. Martha wrote us about you, but—" She hesitated. "I'm afraid the position has been filled. Reverend Fowler's nephew arrived last week from Chicago. We thought you weren't coming." Eliza's carefully constructed composure threatened to crack. "I see. Is there perhaps another position available? I'm willing to do any respectable work." Mrs. Henderson's eyes swept over Eliza's travel-worn appearance. "The saloon is always hiring girls, though I wouldn't recommend—" "I'm a teacher, Mrs. Henderson. I was raised properly." "Of course, dear. Perhaps Mrs. Miller at the hotel needs help, or try the general store." She paused. "Where are you staying?" Eliza hadn't thought that far ahead. Her plan had hinged entirely on securing the teaching position with its included accommodations. "I'll find something suitable, thank you." By dusk, Eliza had been turned away from every establishment in town. The hotel was fully booked with railroad surveyors. The general store had just hired a local boy. The dressmaker didn't need an assistant. Even the laundry couldn't offer work. As night fell, Eliza sat on a bench outside the hotel, her carpetbag at her feet. The street had quieted, with only the distant piano from the saloon breaking the silence. She had exactly $3.42 to her name, not enough for a stagecoach ticket to anywhere promising. "You still sitting here?" Mrs. Henderson approached, wrapped in a shawl against the evening chill. "No luck finding work?" "Not yet," Eliza said, pride keeping her voice steady. "I'm considering my options." Mrs. Henderson sighed. "Listen, dear, Pinecrest isn't ready for an unmarried woman of education trying to make her own way. Folk here are traditional. They said you'd never find a home here when Martha first wrote, and I'm sorry to say they might be right." Eliza felt the words like physical blows. "Surely someone needs— There's a stage heading east tomorrow morning. I could help with the fare." "Thank you, but no." Eliza straightened her shoulders. "I'll find my place here." Mrs. Henderson shook her head and continued on her way, leaving Eliza alone with the encroaching night and her dwindling options. The temperature dropped sharply after sunset. Eliza had spent hours walking the perimeter of town, searching for some sheltered place to pass the night. She'd finally settled on the schoolhouse porch. At least it was associated with education, making her trespassing feel somewhat justified. She huddled in her thin coat, using her carpetbag as a pillow. Sleep refused to come as she stared at the star-filled sky. This wasn't how things were supposed to be. Her father, a respected professor before his illness, had raised her to believe education would open any door. Yet here she was, homeless and unwanted in a frontier town that had no place for a woman like her. A wolf howled in the distance, sending a shiver down Eliza's spine. The porch offered little protection from the elements or wild animals. Just as she was contemplating finding somewhere more secure, hoofbeats approached. Eliza tensed, unsure whether to hide or call out. Before she could decide, a lantern's glow illuminated the porch and a deep voice called, "Who's there?" She stood shakily, smoothing her skirts. "Just a traveler seeking shelter for the night. I'll move along." The rider dismounted, lifting his lantern higher. In its light, Eliza could see a tall man with broad shoulders and a weathered face partially hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. He wore the practical clothes of a rancher, not the flamboyant attire of a gunslinger or the fine suit of a businessman. "You're that Eastern teacher, aren't you?" "Martha's cousin," Eliza nodded warily. "Eliza Sinclair, how did you small town, news travels?" He studied her for a moment. "I'm Barrett Zankowski, own a ranch about 3 miles north." "Mr. Zankowski." Eliza gave a slight nod, maintaining her dignity despite her circumstances. "I apologize for trespassing. I'll be on my way." "To where exactly?" "Town's talking about how you've been turned away everywhere." Embarrassment burned in Eliza's cheeks. "I'll manage." Barrett Zankowski stepped closer, his expression unreadable in the lantern light. "It's going to freeze tonight. There are wolves in these parts, mountain lions too." "I'm aware of the risks, Mr. Zankowski." He fell silent, seeming to deliberate. Finally, he said, "I came to town for supplies and heard about your situation. I have a proposition for you." Eliza stiffened. She'd received enough improper propositions during her journey west to last a lifetime. Seeing her reaction, Barrett quickly added, "Nothing untoward, Miss Sinclair. My sister Rebecca has been managing my household, but she's marrying next month. I need someone educated to tutor my daughter. She's 8 and too bright for her own good, but we're too far from town for regular schooling." Hope flickered within Eliza, but caution tempered it. "You're offering me employment, room, board, and fair wages. You'd have your own quarters in the house. It's not fancy like you might be used to back east, but it's solid, warm." "Why would you offer this to a stranger?" Barrett shifted, seemingly uncomfortable with the question. "Rebecca suggested it when she heard about you, said it was Providence." "My daughter Lily needs education and you need a position. Seems straightforward enough." Eliza weighed her options, which were painfully few. "And what does Mrs. Zankowski think of this arrangement?" A shadow passed over Barrett's face. "My wife passed 3 years ago. It's just me, Lily, and Rebecca until Rebecca's wedding, that is." "I'm sorry for your loss." Eliza hesitated. Going alone to a remote ranch with a man she'd just met went against everything she'd been taught, yet staying here meant certain danger. "When would you need me to start?" "Now would be best. It's getting colder by the minute." Eliza took a deep breath. "I accept your offer, Mr. Zankowski, on a trial basis, 1 month. If either of us finds the arrangement unsuitable, we'll part ways with no ill feelings." Barrett nodded, a hint of relief in his expression. "Agreed. Can you ride?" "Yes, though it's been some time." He collected her carpetbag, securing it to his saddle. "My horse can carry us both back to the ranch. I'll send someone for your trunk tomorrow." "This is all I have," Eliza admitted quietly. Barrett's eyes met hers briefly, and she saw no pity, only understanding. "Then we'd best get you home and settled." Home. The word echoed in Eliza's mind as Barrett helped her mount his horse. It had been months since she'd had anything resembling a home. The ride to the Zankowski ranch was mostly silent, with Barrett occasionally pointing out landmarks visible in the moonlight. Eliza sat stiffly in front of him, acutely aware of his solid presence behind her, his arms reaching around to hold the reins. The ranch materialized like a dream, a substantial two-story house with warm light spilling from the windows, surrounded by outbuildings and corrals. As they approached, the front door burst open, and a young girl in a nightgown dashed out, followed by a woman Eliza presumed was Rebecca. "Pa. You're late, we were worried." The girl stopped short when she spotted Eliza. "Who's that?" Barrett dismounted and helped Eliza down. "Lily, this is Miss Sinclair. She's going to be your teacher." "Miss Sinclair, my daughter Lily and my sister Rebecca." Rebecca rushed forward, relief evident on her face. "Thank goodness, I was praying you'd arrive today." She took Eliza's hands in hers. "Welcome to Rocking Z Ranch." Lily studied Eliza suspiciously. "Are you strict? Mrs. Peterson at Sunday school is awful strict." "Lily," Barrett warned. Eliza knelt to meet the girl's eyes. "I believe learning should be enjoyable, but it also requires discipline. We'll find a balance that works for both of us." Lily considered this. "Do you know about dinosaur bones? I read they found some in Wyoming." "I've read about those discoveries, yes." "Perhaps we can include natural history in your lessons." This seemed to satisfy Lily, who turned and dashed back into the house, presumably to prepare for this new educational adventure. Rebecca squeezed Eliza's hands. "You must be exhausted. Come inside, I've kept supper warm and your room is ready." Eliza followed, overwhelmed by the unexpected welcome. The house was surprisingly comfortable inside, not lavish, but clean and well-maintained, with solid furniture and homey touches. The main room centered around a large stone fireplace, with bookshelves lining one wall, a sight that immediately eased Eliza's anxiety. "You have quite a library, Mr. Zankowski," she observed as Rebecca bustled about setting the table. Barrett hung his hat on a peg by the door. "My late wife's collection, mostly. She was a teacher before we married. Lily takes after her, curious about everything." After a simple but hearty meal, Rebecca showed Eliza to a small but comfortable bedroom on the second floor. "It's not much, but we've tried to make it nice." The room contained a narrow bed, a dresser with a mirror, a washstand, and a rocking chair by the window. Someone had placed a small vase of wildflowers on the dresser, a touch that brought unexpected tears to Eliza's eyes. "It's perfect," she said softly. "Thank you for your kindness." Rebecca squeezed her shoulder. "Rest well. Tomorrow will be a new beginning." Alone at last, Eliza sank onto the bed, the events of the day catching up with her. She'd gambled everything on this position. If it didn't work out, she truly would have nowhere to go. Yet as she drifted towards sleep, Barrett Zankowski's deep voice echoed in her memory. "Then we'd best get you home." It wasn't her home, of course, but for tonight it was shelter. And that was more than she'd had yesterday. Life at the Rocking Z quickly fell into a routine. Eliza spent mornings teaching Lily, afternoons helping Rebecca with household tasks, and evenings reading or preparing lessons. Barrett was often absent, managing the ranch's operations, but joined them for meals and occasionally observed Lily's lessons with quiet interest. By the end of her first week, Eliza had discovered that Lily was indeed exceptionally bright, with a particular talent for mathematics and a fascination with natural sciences. She'd also learned that Barrett Zankowski was respected throughout the region for his fair dealings and work ethic, having built the ranch from nearly nothing after arriving from Pennsylvania 12 years earlier. "He doesn't talk much about the past," Rebecca confided one afternoon as they hung laundry. "Losing Caroline hit him hard. She died of pneumonia after getting caught in a blizzard. Barrett blames himself for not being home when the storm hit." "How terrible," Eliza murmured, watching Barrett in the distance as he worked with the horses. "He's a good man," Rebecca said, following her gaze. "Stubborn as the day is long, but good to his core." Eliza quickly looked away. "He's a fair employer. I'm grateful for the opportunity." Rebecca smiled knowingly but said nothing more. As the days passed, Eliza found herself increasingly comfortable at the ranch. Lily was a delight to teach, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. The girl had clearly been starved for intellectual stimulation and feminine guidance. She trailed Eliza around the house, asking endless questions about everything from ancient Egypt to how clouds formed. Barrett observed these interactions with a mixture of amusement and something deeper that Eliza couldn't quite identify. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, he joined Eliza on the porch where she sat reading. "You've been good for her," he said, leaning against the railing. "She hasn't been this excited about anything since before her mother died." "She's a remarkable child," Eliza replied, marking her place in her book. "You should be proud." "I am." He looked out at the darkening landscape. "Rebecca tells me you lost your father recently. I'm sorry." The unexpected sympathy caught Eliza off guard. "Thank you, he was ill for a long time." "It's still hard watching someone slip away like that." "Yes." Eliza hesitated, then added, "Rebecca mentioned your wife's passing. I'm truly sorry for your loss." Barrett nodded, still looking at the horizon. "Caroline would have liked you. She believed strongly in education, especially for girls. She sounds like a wonderful woman." "She was." He turned to face her. "Miss Sinclair, I realize our arrangement was for a month's trial, but I'd like to offer you a more permanent position. Lily needs consistency, and you clearly need." He stopped, seeming to reconsider his words. "A home," Eliza supplied quietly. "Employment," he corrected, though his eyes said more. "At least until winter. The passes get treacherous and travel becomes difficult." Eliza considered his offer. The truth was, she'd grown fond of this place, of Lily's enthusiasm and Rebecca's kindness. Even Barrett's steady presence had become something she looked forward to each day. "I accept," she said, "until winter at least." Relief flickered across his face. "Good, that's good." 2 weeks later, Rebecca's wedding day arrived. The small ceremony took place at the ranch, with the local minister officiating and neighbors from miles around attending. Eliza helped Rebecca dress and arranged wildflowers in her hair, feeling a bittersweet mix of happiness for her friend and awareness that everything would change once Rebecca left. The celebration lasted well into the evening, with music and dancing in the cleared barn. Eliza sat with Lily watching the festivities when Barrett approached. "May I have this dance, Miss Sinclair?" he asked, extending his hand. Surprised, Eliza hesitated. "I don't think, please, Miss Eliza," Lily urged. "Pa never dances with anyone." Put that way, Eliza could hardly refuse. She placed her hand in Barrett's, allowing him to lead her to the makeshift dance floor. He moved with unexpected grace for a man who spent his days on horseback, keeping a respectful distance as they circled among the other dancers. "You're full of surprises, Mr. Zankowski," Eliza remarked. "I wouldn't have taken you for a dancing man." A hint of a smile touched his lips. "Caroline insisted I learn, said a man should know how to dance with his wife." She was right. She usually was. His hand tightened slightly on hers. "You remind me of her sometimes." "Not in looks, Caroline was fair where you're dark, but in spirit. She never backed down when she believed in something." Eliza wasn't sure how to respond to such a personal observation. "I'll take that as a compliment." It was meant as one. The music ended, and Barrett stepped back, his eyes lingering on her face for a moment before he excused himself. Eliza returned to Lily, unsettled by the warmth spreading through her chest. Rebecca and her new husband departed the next morning for their home in the neighboring county. The house felt emptier without Rebecca's cheerful presence, and the household routines required adjustment. Eliza took over more of the cooking and household management, while Barrett hired a local woman to come in twice weekly for laundry and heavier cleaning. September brought cooler temperatures and the first hints of autumn. Eliza expanded Lily's lessons to include outdoor nature studies, teaching her to identify plants and collect specimens for drawing. Barrett often found excuses to join these excursions, offering practical knowledge about the local environment that complemented Eliza's academic approach. On one such afternoon, as Lily raced ahead to examine a hawk's feather, Barrett turned to Eliza. "You've settled in well here." "It's easy to feel at home in such beautiful surroundings," she replied, gesturing to the golden aspens and distant mountains. "Is it home, then?" His voice was casual, but his eyes watched her intently. Eliza considered the question. "It's the closest thing I've had to one since my father died." Barrett nodded, seemingly satisfied with her answer. "Lily asked me last night if you would stay forever." "Did she?" Eliza's heart quickened. "And what did you tell her?" "That it would be your decision, but that I hoped you would." Before Eliza could respond, Lily called excitedly about her discovery, and the moment passed. But later, alone in her room, Eliza turned Barrett's words over in her mind. What exactly had he meant? That he valued her as Lily's teacher, certainly, but was there something more? October arrived with its brilliant colors and first frost. Barrett spent long days preparing the ranch for winter, often returning after dark, exhausted but satisfied with the progress. Eliza found herself watching for him each evening, relief washing over her when he appeared for supper. One night after Lily had gone to bed, Barrett lingered at the table while Eliza cleared the dishes. "There's a town social next Saturday," he said abruptly. "Harvest celebration. Lily's been looking forward to it." "Yes, she's mentioned it several times." Eliza smiled, remembering the girl's excitement. "I thought we might all attend together." Barrett traced the wood grain of the table with his finger. "As a family?" Eliza nearly dropped the plate she was holding. "Mr. Zankowski, Barrett," he corrected. "After 2 months, I think you could call me Barrett." "Barrett," she repeated, the name feeling intimate on her tongue. "I'm not sure what you're suggesting." He stood, approaching her slowly. "I'm suggesting that what began as an employment arrangement has become something more, at least for me." He stopped, uncertainty crossing his features. "If I've misread the situation, you haven't," Eliza admitted quietly. "But this is complicated." "Is it? You need a home, Lily needs a mother, and he took a deep breath. "I find myself thinking about you when you're not there. Wondering what you'd think about things, looking forward to seeing you at the end of the day." Eliza's heart raced. "That sounds dangerously close to affection, Mr. Barrett. It's more than affection." He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "I know it's sudden. I know you came here for employment, not courtship, but I'm asking if you might consider the possibility of something more permanent than a teaching position." Eliza looked down at their joined hands. "People will talk. They'll say you only married me to get a mother for your daughter. Or that I trapped you somehow. Let them talk." His voice was firm. "I stopped caring about town gossip when Caroline died and half the county decided I couldn't raise Lily properly without remarrying immediately. And Lily, what would she think?" Barrett's expression softened. "She adores you. Asked me last week why I didn't marry you so you'd be her real mother." Eliza couldn't help laughing. "She's direct, your daughter, like her father." Barrett squeezed her hand. "I'm not asking for an answer tonight, just think about it, about us, about staying." Later that night, Eliza stood at her bedroom window, staring at the star-filled sky. 3 months ago, she'd arrived in Pinecrest desperate and alone. Now she was being offered everything she'd lost: a home, a family, a future. Was it enough? Was it what she wanted? She thought of Barrett's steady presence, his quiet strength, the way his rare smiles transformed his face. She thought of Lily's bright curiosity and affectionate nature. And she thought of the ranch itself, how it had begun to feel like the place she belonged. Yes, it was enough. More than enough. The town social brought Pinecrest's residents together in the newly constructed community hall. Eliza wore her best dress, freshly mended and pressed, while Lily bounced with excitement in a new blue frock Barrett had ordered from the general store. Barrett himself had shaved carefully and donned a clean shirt and vest, looking more handsome than Eliza had ever seen him. As they entered the hall, Eliza felt curious stares. Word had spread about the Eastern teacher living at the Zankowski ranch, and speculation had run rampant. But Barrett seemed oblivious to the whispers, keeping his hand firmly at the small of her back as he guided her through the crowd. Mrs. Henderson approached, her expression a mixture of surprise and assessment. "Miss Sinclair, we didn't expect to see you still in these parts." I found a position that suits me, Eliza replied evenly, so I see. Mrs. Henderson's gaze flicked to Barrett, then back to Eliza. And how long do you anticipate this position lasting? Barrett stepped closer to Eliza. If all goes according to plan, Mrs. Henderson, Miss Sinclair will be making a permanent home at the Rocking Z. The older woman's eyebrows rose. Is that so? Well, congratulations may be in order then. As she moved away to spread this news, Barrett turned to Eliza. I hope I wasn't presumptuous. No, Eliza said softly, not presumptuous at all. The evening progressed with music, dancing, and a bountiful harvest feast. Lily flitted between her friends and Eliza, clearly delighted to show off her teacher to the other children. Barrett danced with Eliza twice more, each time holding her a little closer than propriety strictly allowed. As the celebration wound down, Barrett collected a sleepy Lily and helped Eliza into the wagon for the journey home. The night was clear and cool, stars brilliant overhead. Lily fell asleep almost immediately, her head resting in Eliza's lap. She's exhausted, Eliza whispered, stroking the girl's hair. Barrett glanced at them, his expression tender. She's not the only one who had a good time tonight. No, Eliza agreed. It was wonderful. They rode in comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds the steady clop of hooves and the creak of the wagon wheels. Finally, Barrett spoke. Have you thought about what we discussed? Eliza nodded, her heart quickening. I have. And I think, she took a deep breath. I think I would like to make a permanent home at the Rocking Z, with you and Lily. Barrett pulled the wagon to a stop, turning to face her fully. Are you certain? I don't want you to feel obligated because of your position or circumstances. I'm certain, Eliza said firmly. My feelings for you, for both of you, have nothing to do with obligation and everything to do with finding where I belong. In the moonlight, Barrett's smile was transformative. He leaned closer, careful not to disturb Lily, and pressed his lips gently to Eliza's. The kiss was brief but full of promise. They said you'd never find a home in these parts, he murmured, echoing Mrs. Henderson's words from that first night, but I think you have. I have, Eliza agreed, her heart full. I most certainly have. The wedding took place in November, a small ceremony at the ranch with only close friends and neighbors attending. Lily stood proudly beside them, holding a bouquet that matched Eliza's. Barrett's vows were simple but heartfelt, promising to cherish and protect his new wife as long as he lived. Winter arrived soon after, blanketing the ranch in snow and limiting travel to town. But Eliza didn't mind the isolation. The cozy evenings by the fire, teaching Lily to knit, and so while Barrett read aloud from their growing library, were precious beyond measure. Spring brought new life to the ranch, calves in the pastures, wildflowers on the hillsides, and the news that Eliza was expecting. Barrett's joy was boundless, his protective instincts heightened as he insisted she rest more and leave the heavier chores to others. Lily was equally excited about becoming a big sister, peppering Eliza with questions about the baby and helping prepare a nursery in the small room adjoining their bedroom. You think it's a boy or a girl? She asked one evening as they sorted through baby clothes Rebecca had sent. I don't know, Eliza answered truthfully. Either would be a blessing. Pa says he doesn't care as long as the baby is healthy and has your eyes. Eliza smiled, touching her growing abdomen. Your father is a wise man. He also says we should name it after Grandpa James if it's a boy, or Grandma Elizabeth if it's a girl. Those are fine names, Eliza agreed, thinking how perfectly her life had come together in less than a year. The baby, a boy they named James Barrett Zankowski, arrived on a clear September day, almost exactly a year after Eliza had first come to the ranch. He had his father's strong features, but, as Barrett had hoped, his mother's dark eyes. Standing by the bedroom window with his son in his arms, Barrett looked at Eliza with such love that it nearly overwhelmed her. Did you ever imagine, when you were sitting on that schoolhouse porch, that this is where you'd end up? He asked. Eliza shook her head. Never. I was just hoping to survive the night. And now, she smiled, watching her husband cradle their son while Lily peered adoringly at her new brother. Now I know what it means to truly come home. Barrett leaned down to kiss her, their son nestled between them. Welcome home, Mrs. Zankowski. For good and always. Outside, the mountains stood sentinel over the ranch, unchanged for centuries and unlikely to change for centuries more. Within those mountains' embrace, on a patch of land carved from wilderness by determination and hope, Eliza had found what everyone said she never would: not just a house or a job, but a home in every sense of the word. A place where she was needed, wanted, and loved beyond measure. And that, she knew with absolute certainty, was worth every hardship she had endured to find it.